Hello everyone, it's Craig. Welcome back to my channel where we talk about all things navigating single life. So if this type of content interests you, please like and subscribe. It really helps my channel out. And please leave a comment below at the end of the video with any feedback or any suggestions of future videos. I would love to hear your feedback, and more comments actually really help my channel out. So with that being said, let's get started. In today's video, I want to talk about being single and being resilient. Single people are a very stigmatized group, from people thinking that because you're single that you're childish and you're selfish, or people thinking that there's something wrong with you. I can't tell you how many times people have tried to give me advice on being single, that I'm just being too picky, or whatever the advice may be, that it's a you problem. It's not just that you haven't found someone or that you don't want to find someone. In single people, if you are dating, you have to be resilient in dating too, because it's a nightmare out there. You know, sometimes people, when you're on these apps and you're talking to people like via text message or whatever, people can be very mean, people can be very rude. It's interesting because sometimes it's so far removed from how you would treat even like a stranger on the street. The way people talk to each other on apps. It takes a lot of strength to put yourself out there when you've been rejected, when you've been mistreated, especially if it's happened many times. I'm speaking from experience here. My point in bringing this up is that single people have a lot of resilience, because whether you're single and you dated and it didn't work out, whether you're single and you're divorced, whether you're single and widowed, there's a lot of resilience that you need to have in order to come through that. And I don't think single people are given enough credit for how the odds are kind of stacked against them and how resilient they really are. So I want to talk a little bit about how people, especially single people, can be resilient. And the biggest thing in being resilient is reframing. Basically taking a negative thing that has happened to you and figuring out what lesson you could have learned from it. And sometimes it's harder than others. Finding some nugget of good in the of life is not always easy. So I can give you a few examples of how I've reframed some things in my life, and hopefully that is helpful if you want to apply this to your own life. So one of my exes used to stand me up on dates. He would be at the casino, he'd be doing a lot of other things, and he would never be on time. I felt like he didn't really respect my time and respect like the fact that I had a busy life as well. And we were together for about 2 years. And this is not me sitting here trying to bash him by any means. Like, I mean, I chose to stay with him. He had a lot of great qualities too. But sometimes I've been caught up in thinking about the bad of our relationship, but there was a lot of good stuff too. And when I do get caught in that mindset of like, oh God, why did I do this? And I think the hardest part is sometimes forgiving ourselves for staying in relationships. That's an entirely different topic, but forgiving yourself is huge when it comes to being resilient, because forgiving others is easier than forgiving ourselves. But I just have to remind myself that I own this condo because of him. He's the one who really kind of pushed me to be like, you know what, you really should consider buying something. It wasn't even the forefront of my mind, buying a house or buying a condo at that point. So I really have to be very grateful to him for that. And I also have to look in some of the stuff I didn't do right in the relationship. I did feel like I was a good partner, but there were things I didn't do right, and which was that I felt like there were times when he didn't want to have conversations and I did, and I kind of maybe pushed a little bit too much. And I think that going forward, if I got into a relationship again, or even just with friendships, if someone doesn't want to have a conversation, I can't force them to. And it's up to them to want to have those conversations. So doing reflection and trying to find the good in that situation really helps me to look back and not have resentment. But honestly, sometimes like if I'm in the wrong mood and I think about it, I do a little bit, but then I have to stop myself and say, look, these are the positives. So coming up with the positives to kind of talk back to your inner critic is how I have managed to deal with it. Another thing I had to reframe was that last year I lost my job. I was laid off due to COVID related budget cuts. And it was really sad because I really loved that job. And I was upset about it, actually up until recently. And It wasn't until I really was like, okay, Craig, you reframe things in other parts of your life. Why aren't you reframing this? So I'm actually really grateful because I was working in a university at the time, and I've realized that working for a university isn't really what I want to do anymore. Like, I've changed in the past year, and I found a job and I felt like I wasn't even like as grateful for it as I should have been, when it's really close to my house. I work with great people. So this was just a lesson to be grateful that I enjoy what I'm doing now, and I have really supportive people around me, and not everybody gets that lucky. So instead of looking back and being like, why was this taken away from me? It opened up a new opportunity for me. And when that thought creeps in, I just have to tell myself, Craig, like, you have a job, you work with great people, and that's more than a lot of people have. And one last thing I want to say about reframing things is, a lot of times in our culture, a lot of the things that we see on TV and the media really shapes how we think about ourselves, how we think about relationships. And I think there's this myth out there that if you lose love, that you're sometimes never going to be able to find that love again. And that's not true, because think about this. The love that you give someone comes from you. The love that I give someone, the love that I gave previous partners, the love that I give my friendships comes from me. They just happen to be the person that it bounces off of, and they happen to be the person that sparks it in me to want to give that love. But regardless, the love is coming from me. So sometimes people think they have this like very limited amount of love, and then if that person, it doesn't work out with that person, then they're like, oh no, like all my love has left with that person. But it doesn't work like that. It comes from you. It comes from within you. So if it bounced off someone, it can bounce off someone again. And I think that that's one thing that single people really understand, especially single people who have a really good network of friends and have a good support system, is that you can give love to so many people, and it's not just for one person. So thank you for watching. I really appreciate you. This might be my favorite video I've ever done, because this is something I never even thought to talk about until I was watching another YouTuber talking about resiliency, and I'm like, yeah, single people are pretty resilient, so I need to talk about this. It's something that's not really talked about much. So I appreciate you watching, and I will see you back here next time. Bye.